Darryl, that was a great set. I don't know if you realize you did most of it with your back to the audience. That was incredible. No, I'm shitting you.
Would not be surprised. All right. Did I really?
So, this is the reason we started doing these interviews is because I thought it would be neat for you guys to get to know who these comics are. You just watched him do a great show, right? And you know that about him. But realize that a big part of what we do in comedy is we lie our ass off to get a laugh, sometimes. And so I think it's neat to find out who the comic really is and what they do when they're not doing comedy. And then we can talk about comedy, too, and how they got into it. There's a lot of different reasons. So now, I didn't catch the whole show. Did you talk about your upbringing, your father, all that? I know you do bits on that.
Just a little piece, not the whole thing. But
okay.
Yep,
would you tell them a little bit? I've got a beer and a shot for you, but
sweet.
Need to find somewhere to put it.
All right.
So just a little bit about how you grew up.
Put that shot in my hand first. Okay. So I told you what my father was, and my grandfather, so that's all true stuff. I was raised in a matriarch, and a very strong mother who just wasn't gonna put up with his bullshit, so she left him, and my grandmother and all them, so I was raised by them, and my mother, she's from Arkansas, and she was mad at him for being what he was, and he wasn't very supportive. And so one time, me and her got into a big argument, and I was 6, and I said, if I'm a problem and I'm so expensive to you, why don't you just kill me? My mom goes, listen, you black bastard, if I could afford the funeral, I would kill you. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
That's an actual true story. So
that's an eye-opener.
So that's my mom is that, and my father is that, and so that's what brings me here drinking tequila.
So and you grew up where?
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas.
Yep.
And which is, we got Las Vegas people here? Really? You don't think of Las Vegas as a place where people grow up.
Well, I know.
So,
what high school did you go to over there?
The Las Vegas people.
Where'd you go to high school in Las Vegas? You go. Henderson. That's not really Las Vegas, all right. But I understand where it is. Yeah.
All right. Close enough.
Yep.
So when you grow up as a kid in Las Vegas with all of that Sin City stuff around you, does that had that kind of twist on your life? Do you get into that early?
No, because we grew up real religious, and so everything's a sin. But everybody's very afraid they was going to hell, but you still sneaking and watching play the quarters in the laundromat or the 7-Eleven, and then thank Jesus when they lost. But then the devil got me. So, but no, it was never a factor on me, not at all.
And yet, growing up religious, was it a certain Baptist?
Baptist and Pentecostal, so we were some speaking in tongues.
Really?
Yeah, speaking in tongues. And I was at 18, I was evangelical, laying hands on healing people. I was one of those dudes at 18.
Really?
That's why I was still a virgin until I was 22.
And so when you were... So at 18, you had someone come to you that had some problem, ailment.
My uncle had pancreatic cancer, and so I got saved, as they say in the business, and then for some reason I just did what everything they said to do, so then I just became immersed in trying to be a healer. So I learned how to speak in tongues. I memorized all aspects of all the New Testament. I started reading books on intercessory prayer. So I made my mind to that I was going to heal him based on some scriptures in the Bible. And then he went in remission for about a half a day, and they thought I did it. So they started dragging me around Las Vegas trying to heal people.
So there was no actual healing ever?
He died. Oh, he died.
Okay, yeah.
He died. He said, I'm just tired, so get away from this bed. I'm just tired. So I did.
Right. And I'm always curious about it. I actually experienced this. There was this radio station I was connected to in the South, and there was a guy that had a show on Sunday morning, and he spoke in tongues. And he would come on, and he would introduce himself, and he'd start speaking in tongues, and then it would go to a commercial, and he'd quit speaking in tongues, and then it would come back from the commercial, and he'd start speaking in tongues, and then it would end, and he would just say thank you and wrap it up. So I don't know. I had a feeling he wasn't taken over by the Spirit. I just had a feeling. Okay. It seemed like he controlled the Spirit somewhat.
Well,
I could get shot for saying this.
That's not really a question, but if somebody moved me away from the lightning strike over that Les is about to get, because somebody moved me a little to the left over here. No, I was 18, so what that guy was doing was might have been manipulative. It sounds like if you're doing on radio, then it's a commerce-based decision, so it probably was. But I was 18, and I also believed that one day I was going to make love to Chrissy from Three's Company, so my belief system was all skewed anyway.
I got you.
So when I was speaking in tongues, I thought that's what I was doing.
If I thought Chrissy would have laid me, I would have spoken in tongues.
Okay.
I've done something with my tongue.
Pam looks a lot like Chrissy. That's you know right. Pam looks a little bit like Chrissy. You know that,
she
don't
is. She's a beauty.
Okay.
So where was the twist in the stand-up comedy for you?
Twist meaning when did I start?
Yeah. What moved you in that direction?
I was playing basketball in Seattle, and I was going to transfer from University of Washington to another school, and then I had my first ever girlfriend was 37, and I was 20, and so she got tired of feeding me and taking care of me. She goes, "You need to grow up and get some real aspirations for a job. You might not make the NBA, then what do you do? You can't afford to take me to dinner." You know, women can tell you the truth sometimes, and it fucking hurts.
Yep.
So I said, okay. And so then I just looked in the weekend newspaper and it said comedy, open mic at the Comedy Underground. So I called, and they said, come down on Monday. And that's what I did. And after that, I never did anything ever since then.
Wow. And how long from that point until you were making your complete living as a stand-up comic?
3 months.
3 months?
It wasn't a good living, but
You were living in a box? What the fuck were you doing?
Listen, I would talk my way into anybody's couch.
Yeah.
I would take whatever gig I could get.
Right.
But I figured that the only way I could get better faster is if I didn't do anything.
Okay.
And so that's just what I did. So I gave myself a goal that I want to make $500 in 6 months. Otherwise, I could go back to school, finish playing basketball. That didn't happen, but I just kept doing it. And so then year one, I made like $1,000. And year two, everything exploded. I got an evening at the Improv after 2 years, and so then my money went up pretty good after that, and then ever since then.
So you were headlining how fast?
As soon as I found out that headliners get paid twice what the middles did, I said I'll do whatever I do to get to that. So I stole jokes and read shit out of joke books. I just stayed on stage and bullshitted. And
they hired you to do that?
They hired me to do that.
Wow.
Pretty charming, Les.
That is very charming.
Yeah.
You know, so you got the headliner within 3 years?
Yes.
And the only other comic I'm going to tell you that I know that has done that, because most comics take anywhere from, I think 6 is fast, 6 or 7 is fast, up to 10 years to be a headline comedian. You and Sinbad are the two guys that went that quickly to headliner. So off that a little bit, when you're not doing comedy, what do you like to do? I mean, is there a hobby? And I know that since you've lost your eyesight, that's probably changed a lot. There might have been something you liked to do before when your eyesight was strong, and now that may have changed to something different. You're just talking about basketball.
So the simple things is I'm always a real sports guy, so I love listening to sports better than I did watching it now. I like listening to a good baseball game called, and basketball I like that. I think it's better. So I'm always going to keep my sports hobbies. I know I'm pretty strong chess player, so I've got a program that I can play chess, and I got the board memorized, so the voice tells me, you know, where the pieces are, and in my head I can do that.
How many moves ahead can you think?
I'm a lot, a lot.
4?
A lot is not 4 or less. Yes, a lot more than that.
7.
A lot.
More than 7?
Yes, a lot.
Wow.
I play a lot.
What's a master?
That's not how many moves ahead is not like an equivocation of whether you're master level or not.
Oh, it's not?
No. No.
Oh, okay.
Don't ever ask a master, hey, are you like 4 moves ahead or 5?
Oh, that's a stupid question.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, I'm from Chattanooga.
Okay.
Ta-da. And last, before we have the audience ask you some questions, if comedy was not a viable way to make a living, like you could do it, but it just wasn't a viable way to make a living, and you needed to make a living doing something else that you would have liked to have done, what do you think you would have gone into?
And I knew that I was gonna not have eyes and stuff.
Well, I guess we have to go that way because you would have morphed into that anyway. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
I think that I like listening to people. I like solving problems, so I would have probably went somewhere in the psychiatric field or some sort of. I'm a pretty good teacher.
Yep. Teacher, therapist.
Somewhere along the
I can see that.
Where you try to change people's perspectives to make them.
Definitely.
Think, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And of course, and have you found this to be true? As you've lost your eyesight, are you a better listener to people? I mean, do you find that is something you're more aware of than you were beforehand, or do you think that didn't make much? Were you just as good a listener?
I was always a good listener because I always had bad eyes, but now I don't have the visual distractions of, as I'm listening to you, I can see that, that person over there is doing something, or a pen gets dropped. Like, oh, somebody dropped something. So my focus is completely auditory now.
Got you. Okay, great. Questions from the audience? Anything at all? You can bring up the lights a little bit if you want to. And there's anything you're curious about at all for Darryl? Yes, something over there? Yep, yes.
You said you only have this much vision left.
Right.
What's on your bucket list to see before it's gone?
First off, I will. I'm not a bucket list guy, but I don't know what I haven't seen, and so.
You hadn't seen me naked.
All right, I'm a believer in bucket list now. So, you know what, ma'am? Honestly, I don't think I've missed much in life. I don't know what I haven't. I've gotten to see so much of the world and see so many incredible things, so I don't know. And, Dick Cavett asked Ray Charles that question one time in the 60s, and Ray Charles said, maybe my kids for about a day, maybe a couple of pieces of work, but artwork, but I don't know. I don't think, and I feel the same way. Like, I don't know what I've missed.
Anything else? Yes.
If you could see less naked, what would be your facial expression?
I think he's doing it right now. I think that's it.
I don't have that level of imagination. I'm good creatively, but I don't think I'm that creative.
No.
I would imagine he puts in work like he puts in work. It's just thorough and relentless, and a lot of self-promotion. Les is a Who's Your Daddy? Welcome to McCurdy's Sexual Institute.
Another question? Yeah, back there. Mm-hmm.
I cannot sing. I cannot sing. How come I just can't have a nice voice? I have to do 2 things with it? Thank you very much, though.
Yes. Another question anywhere? Am I missing somebody? Yeah.
You said you were an entrepreneur. What other visions do you have besides comedy, or is it just strictly comedy now all the way?
They're all comedy related, and so for the past 3 years, I've been raising capital to purchase the biggest comedy club franchise in Canada. It's called Yuck Yucks. It's 15 clubs, and then I want to do a few mom and pops down in the States as well, because I think one of my big visions and goals is the club life. Comedy clubs changed my life, and I think that it shouldn't be as feast as famine. You shouldn't have to be Eddie Murphy successful or sleep in your car. I think you can raise the standards within comedy clubs like Les has. Les has a great club. Every now he'll bring in famous people. Every now he'll bring in a guy like me, and so I think this is the best way to do it. So that's my big goal.
So a young person that wants to get into it, what's the advice?
Lessons learned.
Okay.
First thing I would ask them, do you know how you learn best? Do you need somebody to show you how things? Or do you read to learn? How do you learn best? Because at some point you're going to have to do a lot of little stuff. Where if you read well, you learn that way, then I'd say write your act out no matter how bad it is every single day, because your brain gets trained to write in funny ways. But if you're more of I need to be shown, then I would say you should be in comedy clubs every possible night, watching and learning and watching comics be good and bad and awful, and then study as many old 5-minute Tonight Show Letterman sets you possibly could, because the word craftsmanship that you have to do to get on those shows is a great way to learn how to be your first way to do it.
Anything else? Thanks, Darryl.
Thank
I think
you.
we're done.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Is Chris back there? Oh, there he is. Chris is going to come help Darryl. And another big hand for Chris. I'm going to tell you, as Darryl's leaving, a funny thing that happened when Darryl was here last.